Dude, I have been the ultimate handyman today. I installed a doorknob while wearing flannel.
um, yeah, that definitely qualifies.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't get any more handy than that, right?
No.
And it wasn't like just putting a doorknob in either. Like, it was a fucking pain in the ass because, like, the doors in this house are from the 1950s, and they haven't, like, at that point, I don't think they bothered to standardize, like, sizes for things. So the new doorknob that we bought didn't fit in the hole in the door. So I had to, like, drill out the hole in the door even larger.
Mm-hmm.
So I had, like, my Dremel, and I'm, like, sanding it down on the inside. And, like, I couldn't find my safety glasses, but I was wearing the mask. And sawdust was absolutely getting in my eyes.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was a good time.
You're using like a Dremel with like a welding mask?
Yeah, I wish I had a welding mask. I wouldn't have gotten sawdust in my eyes.
I want one of those things just so I can like flip it up cool like.
Mm-hmm.
Can you would have a Dremel?
Well, my father bought it for me. So I basically, everything my father ever thought is useful, he has bought for me or will be giving me at some point because he already has it. He was, a mechanic most of his life. So he has like 14 of the same wrench kind of thing, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I really don't have a need to buy tools ever.
Is he one of those guys that like, you take a tool and he makes sure that you put it back exactly where it came from, like as soon as you're done using it?
Not as like... not to like an obsessive state. Like, he wants the tools in the same drawer, but they're not in like any order in that drawer.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, so like if you go into his tool cabinet and you're looking for a screwdriver and you're looking for a specific one, God help you, but it'll be in the drawer with all the other screwdrivers.
Mm-hmm.
He's just got 40 of them. So
yeah.
Welcome to Will and Drew's Gaming Retrospective. You're listening to episode 46 for the week of October 13th, 2019. I'm your host, Drew, and I am joined by Crunchy Boy, Will.
Aha! What's up, man?
Oh, man, it has been a kind of a weird day. I woke up this morning, I was planning on playing some video games, and then I didn't.
Yeah, I feel like that really defines our business card slogan.
It was never it's never meant to be that way, but it just seems to be the way it is.
Yeah, it's funny. I actually gave that card to a couple people today at work, and one of my colleagues was like, "Oh, I love that. Two guys that have no time to game talk about games." And I was like, "Yep, that's it."
Yeah,
that's us.
I did a lot of overtime this week at work, so I ended up doing a 48-hour work week. Oof. And then with my hour commute each way, so 2 hours in the car total, have not been home very much. So today was a very nice opportunity to just kind of chill at home, and I spent most of it trying to get a doorknob installed.
Yeah, it's a good day for that, man. Like if you look outside, we're expecting some pretty crazy rain, so it's a good day for video games.
Yeah. So how's everything with you? You doing good, man?
I'm doing well, man. I haven't had a lot of time to game like lately. I'm a little upset at myself for not capitalizing this past weekend because I did have Monday off for Columbus Day. But I was too busy with something else, which I'm going to mention a little bit later in the show. But
looking to dive into that, I think you got a pretty cool toy that I'm looking forward to seeing in person, actually.
Oh yeah, it's amazing. I can't stop thinking about it. How are you, man?
Man, I'm great. Otherwise, I'm just tired. But I have goals, Will. And the overtime must flow.
I like that.
I have we have something special coming up for our 50th episode, and I need to be prepared for it. And in order for me to be prepared, I need to spend some money. So I'm going to work and work and work. And then work
whistle.
And maybe whistle. Although I think whistling while I work at my day job would probably get me shunned.
Yeah, they're like, "Listen, man, we're not going to fire you, but we're going to send you home for today."
We have these alarms that go off anytime there's an issue, and it's just a chime. Like they tried to find like the most inobtrusive yet alerting noise possible, because the alarms can go off for literally no reason. So it's not like red alert, but it is like this doo-doo, doo-doo, doo-doo.
I'm sorry, man. I'm just laughing because I imagine that going off because you're whistling and you think it's like a fire drill, and you get outside and you're like, "Hey, buddy, you gotta go, man." It's not a fire drill, dude. We set off the alarm because you were whistling again.
well, so like every time those alarms go off at work, like, I mean, it's just on our computer, but it's an alarm. So like I'll whistle with it, and I'm waiting for somebody to say something to me. Like,
It's going to happen.
It will eventually.
Well, one day it's not going to be synchronized, and then somebody's going to hear that whistle, and they're going to be like, "Oh, that's it.
Yeah,
You're done, dude. You're going home."
you're gonna get walked out. They're gonna put my photograph up at the front desk.
Yeah, you're like, yeah, the security guards are like, "Hold still. Stop kicking. Get off me. Get off me."
Oh, man. Folks, thank you so much for hitting the download button. Please, if you haven't already, take a moment to subscribe. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Play Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn, anywhere you get your podcasts. Just type in WDGR and you will find us. We're available on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at WDGRPodcast. It's at WDGRPodcast. Will, if somebody would like to find you on social media, how can they do so?
Will_gear.
You can find me at ScionStorm. And don't forget, we do have a website, www.wdgrpodcast.com. That's where we put up every episode eventually, as well as blog posts, random thoughts and musings, and all kinds of more fun stuff.
What does WWW stand for, just so folks know?
World Wide Web.
Okay, just want to make sure.
Yeah, that's one of the nerdiest things I know. I can tell you what HTML means, too, if you really want.
Hey, look, until you're minimizing your Vampire Lord tabs, you're not nerdier than me.
That is true. That is true. Oh, man. Hey, what about you say we hit that mailbag? What do you think?
Let's do it, man.
Puxor asks, well, actually, he didn't ask anything. Well, he did ask something, but, so I asked everybody, what are you guys playing? What kind of comments do you have? And, I also asked everybody what their favorite beverage is, because, I want to get to know our listeners a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
Puxor says, my favorite beverage is obviously a horchata from any small family-owned Mexican restaurant. I have no fucking clue what that is. But,
no idea.
He says, I'm playing everything and nothing. A little bit of Bloodstained, a little bit of the after game of Untitled Goose Game Missions, a little bit of Mutant, I still can't say this, Mutant Year Zero, but nothing sticking right now. His question is, if you were in a zombie apocalypse and your only weapon was sword chucks, how long would you last? Sword chucks comes from a webcomic, the name of which escapes me at this moment. But it was a spoof on Final Fantasy 1, where somebody took swords and put a rope in between two of them and called them sword chucks, yo.
Understood.
So, that being said, if you had to survive a zombie apocalypse and you only had sword chucks, how long would you last?
I feel like I would last a decent amount of time, and here's why. I would kind of cheat, and I would modify the sword chucks, yo, and I would probably put all my weight on the chain in between or whatever is holding them together and break them so they're two swords. However, based on the picture here, it doesn't look like they have, like, hilts. So if that's being said and it can't be modified, then I would not last long. I would probably end up killing myself versus, killing a zombie before me. So probably not long.
I think you answered the question for me. I don't think I need to elaborate any further.
Yeah, I mean, it's just kind of ironic that I'm even breaking down like a pixelated like image of sword chucks and kind of just speaking about how they don't have hilts. It's already bad enough that we're doing that, but I wouldn't last long, man.
Yeah, I don't think so. Sword chucks are not a viable weapon.
No.
Period. End of sentence. So
that's it.
Vortex. I'm having a day.
You're having a rough day, dude. It's a rough day.
Vortex says, I haven't played anything new, downloaded World War Z, but I've just been on PUBG as usual. We've also been binging Breaking Bad because Nicole hasn't seen it. So less game time. Trying to finish so I can watch the movie, El Camino, which I will be watching tonight.
Jeez, what has taken you guys so long?
Well, I haven't seen my wife in literally 6 days, so...
Yeah, but you guys were supposed to watch it like the other night, right?
No, it was tonight.
Oh.
Yeah, sorry. This is the first time I'm actually going to see her for like more than a kiss, hello, or goodbye.
Gotcha.
Um, let's see here. Favorite beverage is the White Monster. Favorite alcoholic beverage right now has to be the Coffee Kraken rum, which I've yet to find in Connecticut. Well, that problem was solved thanks to a little bit of internet sleuthing. Vortex now has a minimum of 2 bottles in his hands. And Kraken is a pretty good dark rum, if that's your thing. I have not tried the coffee blend yet, but my father and mother introduced me to Kraken about 10 years ago. It is,
Really?
Yeah, man. Yeah,
It's been around that long?
Yes, it has.
I had no idea. I really thought it was kind of like a newer thing.
It was kind of a niche thing for a while, but I think it started to kind of become more and more popular recently. But it's been around a while.
Yeah, I remember
maybe more than 10 years. Now that I think about it, I think I drank Kraken for the first time before I met Nikki.
Huh. I think it's kind of a clever logo, and like the whole like theme behind it is supposed to be like an octopus or something, right?
Well, it's based on a mythological creature called the Kraken.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's like this mythological sea creature, and kind of goes with the whole rum pirate thing kind of thing. So
yeah, just like the color of it too, like it's super like inky.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of like the fucking ink thing for Mario Kart.
Yep. Oh, that's a good way. Yeah, good description. Fuck that thing.
Yeah, fuck that fucking thing, dude. Oh god, hate it. But yeah, these guys like rum. Vic and his brother, I feel like, drink a lot of rum.
Yeah, that seems to be their hard alcohol of choice. I enjoy rum mixed, but if I'm going to drink anything straight, I tend to be a Scotch or whiskey guy. Bourbon, and that kind of like amber colored beverage is right up my alley.
Cool.
Let's see here. Joe Dunnett says, this week I'm keeping up on Destiny 2's new expansion. The big thing the last week or so was the raid, plus some fun additional story bits. If you're familiar with the game's hub, the tower, you might find it interesting that they're currently building, quote, something there that's been expanding week to week. For a zone that's usually pretty static, the evolving construction is pretty novel. Anyway, favorite drink right now is going to get me in trouble with Mr. Coconut Water, but it's probably G Fuel, a powdered energy drink that makes drinking energy drinks a little more affordable. And hey, I'm not dead yet. Lastly, not so much a question, but I wanted to remind Drew to talk about VR and motion sickness. A lot of my favorite VR experiences would have made a lot of people super sick. Doesn't seem fair. And it makes VR seem like an even smaller niche. It's really hard to recommend, even if something like Resident Evil 7 was incredible in VR. So we are gonna talk about VR tonight on this episode shortly. But do you have anything to say about G Fuel?
Mr. I think and I'm actually drinking one right now, ironically.
Of course you are.
No joke.
Of course.
Of course I am. G Fuel, I think I do know what that is. I believe it is kind of like a gamer fuel thing. I want to say it's been around for a long time. It was pretty popular, and it probably still is in the MLG community. A lot of those guys that were, machinima fucking backers and producers and all that shit, like affiliates were like, sponsored by that and drinking it and stuff like that. So I really don't know much more. Besides what Joe is saying here, that it's powdered. But Joe and I can relate in terms of, trying to find like healthy energy like drinks, because they're really hard to find. And some of the ones that are available like taste like shit.
Yeah.
And I think that's why like a lot of people will go back to like the core basics of Red Bull and, White Monsters and stuff like that, because they're trying to figure out like, how can we take something that's tried and true and get like a healthier version of it. And I think that's why White Monster became so popular, because it seems to be like one of the few monster drinks that's actually like somewhat healthy.
Yeah, I mean, none of them are healthy.
None of them are.
Let's just put an end to that right now. But I suppose if you're gonna, put an energy drink in your body, there are some that are worse than others. I personally am more of a Red Bull guy, even though Red Bull tends to be the most expensive of the bunch. That is my go-to, but I don't drink energy drinks all that often. I had one 2 nights ago, actually. I had a White Monster because somebody left it at my house last time I had some people over. I don't know whose it was, but thank you. It was during one of my 12-hour shifts, so I really needed it, and it was that nice little boost of flavor and that pick-me-up that I needed to kind of get me through the rest of the evening.
Sure.
But prior to that, the last time I had an energy drink outside of coffee was probably, I can't even remember, minimum 4 months, maybe longer.
I mean, I will argue there are some that are healthy, like legit healthy. Like people know that I'm kind of like bougie when it comes to like certain foods and drinks and shit like that. I go to Whole Foods like on a fairly regular basis. I go to Trader Joe's. I try to like seek out things that are, really healthy. And I've seen energy drinks and I've read the ingredients very carefully. And I've seen some that are like, there's nothing bad in there, but you're going to be spending a lot and it's going to be like a small can. So that's why they're not popular, because people want a big hit at a cheap price.
Yeah, that's what it boils down to, is getting that, that volume. If you're spending, $2 on a beverage, you want it to be 20 ounces.
Yep.
And if you're going to put, a $2 20-ounce drink in your body, it's going to come with a cost, and it's usually in the ingredients.
Yep, absolutely.
As a side note, I did Google G Fuel because I was not aware. I'm aware of the product, but I wasn't aware that it was like a powdered, like water additive. So I Googled it just to kind of see what the cost is. And the first result that came up was for Amazon, G Fuel cotton candy flavor, 40 servings, $29.99.
Yeah, that's, I guess that's not bad.
Cotton candy. Who the fuck would drink a cotton candy flavored beverage?
Not this guy. Just aside from the flavor, the price and the serving size seems decent. It's just tough, man. Like I said, it's really hard to find something that's affordable, where you can buy in bulk, because like when you buy, I think last time I checked, when you buy Red Bull, it's usually like a 4-pack or it's like a 6-pack or a 12, I want to say. Like, I don't even know if they make them like that unless you order them like offline.
I just sent a link in Discord to the product, and I want you to take a look at it because the action shots of this are fucking hysterical.
Oh, inspired by Keemstar? Oh, I fucking hate that dude.
Who? What?
Keemstar. So, Keemstar is a YouTube personality. He's been around for a long time, and he's a whole nother subject, but he's such a douchebag, dude.
Where does it say Keemstar?
Right on the front of the thing. Like I just clicked on your link.
Oh, up at the top. Okay.
Right on the top.
Fuck that. Yeah, I mean, like, I'm really digging this shot of, like, the G Fuel bottle laying in, like, what's supposed to be cotton candy, but it's probably actually just insulation.
Yeah. Somebody just ripped it out.
And then you got, like, God. Here's a bottle of G Fuel just sitting in front of, like,
the big E.
Lights.
The big E's in the background. Oh, I love the other one. Yeah, the dude's like fucking matte finish watch there on his wrist with the fucking Las Vegas, like,
oh my
fucking,
God.
What the fuck? And then there's more insulation.
Who the fuck goes to a carnival or a Las Vegas with a thing of G Fuel in their pocket?
What a strange, well, you know what? Obviously they're going for the carnival theme, hence it's cotton candy, but like.
Yeah, but I mean, come on, like, you don't need action shots of this shit, like. In completely fake situations. Like, I understand that you would need to market it, but, like, I think the insulation shot alone would have done the trick. Like, you don't need to, like, put this guy holding a bottle in an awkward position wearing a shitty wristwatch in front of a fucking carousel.
Yeah, that watch looks like it's one of those, like, cheap watches that you get at Macy's, and it's in, like, one of those little rounders. Yep. And it's, like, tagged for, like, $30.
Mm-hmm.
And you're just like, oh yeah, nice. It's a Armani exchange.
I think I bought that same watch band for $9.99 on Amazon like a year and a half ago.
You cheap bastard!
I just needed a replacement, man.
Hey, yeah, I don't know, man. Like, look, if it's working out for you, Joe, great. Because I know Joe has been on the hunt, like I said before, on finding something that is inexpensive, gets the job done, and isn't fucking horrible for you.
Yeah. Well, maybe one of these days I'll give it a shot. but $30, I'm going to have to be taking a hit from somebody else.
Mm.
Anyway, if you guys have a question, comment, want to tell us what you're playing, swing on by our Discord room. There is a link for that in the show notes. Come on by, say hello. We'd love to have you on board.
Definitely.
So, let's jump into that whole VR thing that we alluded to when we recorded our Instagram episode 2 weeks ago. After the show was recorded, you broke out your Oculus Quest, and I had an opportunity to put that headset on for the very first time and try it out.
You did, and you made it sweaty.
I made it very sweaty, and I apologize for that. Hopefully you had plenty of disinfectant.
No, I just left it to dry.
Okay. Well, I mean, I hope you feel good knowing that I took a bath that day. So I did shower.
Good. And you washed your face and your forehead.
Yeah. I mean, I try to, be hygienic around your VR.
Around Oculus devices.
Oculus. But, man, it was a very interesting experience.
So you started out with the demo.
Yes. So what is the name of that demo?
I don't think there's a name.
Just demo.
I want to say it's, you know what it is? First Steps.
Okay.
First Steps. Yep.
I think, I mean, I don't know if I completed the demo, but I played it for maybe, 10 minutes, 15 minutes?
Yeah, about.
I played it for a pretty decent amount of time. And I think it did a pretty good job of, breaking down how the controls work and putting you in situations where, you would have to accomplish certain tasks and just kind of let you be goofy and have a little bit of fun.
Yeah.
There's a thing where you have all these different objects on a table and you have to pick them up and throw them, or there's this rocket that you can pull a string on and it launches it, and that was fun. I'm trying to remember if did that completely block out the actual room, or is it was it kind of opaque? Remember?
You mean the demo itself, the world that you're in?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that I had to create a guardian is what it's called, which is basically a play space, and you kind of draw it on the ground. So I'm pretty sure I did that part for you. So yeah, there should be a guardian in that. There's going to be a guardian in almost everything that you're doing, because you can't just walk out of everything.
But that guardian really doesn't do if I kept walking, it wouldn't do anything. The game would just freeze or something. How does that work if I cross it?
I'm not entirely sure, because I don't think I've ever done that before. I know that the guardian will start appearing, and it looks like you're trying to leave a sort of virtual grid. So that's kind of cool, actually. But yeah, no, I've never actually tried to do something like that before.
Yeah. Very interesting concept, though. It was fun to play. I think it was the right amount of immersive. It gave me an idea about, how the controls work and everything. And I thought the controls were a little bizarre, but for the most part, pretty good. I don't really understand fully what the rings around them are for.
I don't think really anything. It could be some kind of motion thing, or just the way that they're designed. But I don't know if they really serve a purpose. I could be wrong, but
right.
I don't think they do.
I like the idea of having the grips on the handles. I think that was a nice execution. It did give me the illusion of gripping an actual object when I was trying to pick stuff up. And likewise, your hands in the VR do kind of reflect open hand, closed hand.
They do. Yep.
It's not perfect, but it's pretty good. So overall, I think my experience with the demo was mostly positive. But then after that, we moved on to the International Space Station simulator, and that's kind of where things took a turn for the sour for me.
I knew they would too.
So you knew that was going to happen.
Oh yeah, I knew, because I'm trying to think if I've had anyone else try that besides myself. No. And I think it's because no one is ballsy enough to do it. Because every time I explain it, and I don't even explain it as though it's something hey, you better be fucking ready for this. I just tell people, I'm like, oh my God, it's amazing. Like even just the intro, like you see the space station fly by and like you're literally in space looking down at planet Earth, which is exactly what happens. I don't know if you experienced that. I think for some reason it skipped that part.
No, I didn't. I had a hard time navigating in this thing, and I got motion sick.
Oh yeah, it's a really intense experience, and I'm pretty sure it's not even really a game. It's more of just an actual like app experience where you can, know what it's like to be inside of a space station floating around in that kind of zero gravity environment.
But they do a bad job of it, in my opinion. Forget the motion sickness side of it. Like the way the game is designed, you can look in 360 degrees, but movement is basically jumping from point to point. And that's the part that made me sick, not the looking around part. It's that part where I'm floating in one spot and then I go to move and then I like basically like phase through space into the next part or the next cube. So like for the listener, try to think of like the International Space Station as a series of cubes, right? And in three-dimensional space, you have up, down, left, right, forward, and back. So we're moving on a z-axis, x and y as well. And each step that you take transports you to another cube. And you can look full 360 degrees in that cube. But in order to move, you're transporting to the next cube. You're not passing through one cube to the next. You're just teleporting to them. And that was the part that was the most jarring for me. Is that sense of movement, but non-movement? It's like, it's really hard to explain.
It is weird. I mean, obviously, I know what you're talking about because I've played it, but I'm not a big fan of that either. It's kind of like this weird, like, it's almost like a slow shutter effect on like a camera, and then all of a sudden you're like at a different angle. So
yeah,
I'm assuming that the reason why it's like that is because it is a VR experience, and you'll realize the more that you play VR games, the more that the controls are kind of a little bit weird, because since you can't physically walk, they have to find a way to get you to move around with just two analog sticks. And as a gamer, you're going to be thinking, well, why is it so difficult? That's what we do now. But for VR, it's different because it's VR. Like you're not sitting there controlling something. You're kind of controlling yourself, if that makes sense. So that's, I think, why it's implemented that way. But once you get kind of used to it, you can just at least understand what it could be like to float around. And I went outside of the space station once, and I I had to like shut off the game. I was like, holy fuck, like I'm outside of the space station, like I can't do this.
When you're outside, does this still have that same shutter effect for motion?
I didn't even last that long. Like I was,
really?
I literally felt like I was floating in space. Like that's how immersive it is. And I couldn't handle it because I looked over, I like kind of looked down, and there's planet Earth right there. And then I looked up and I looked to the right and left, and it's just space. And it looks really real. And even though you're sitting there in your office chair or whatever, I swear to God, man, like VR has a very special effect where it really takes you into that world, even though you you have to like forcefully like you have to forcefully remember that you're not there.
Right.
And it's kind of a weird thing to explain, but it's just something you have to experience.
Yeah, and to kind of circle back to what Joe was saying before, a lot of his favorite VR experiences would have made a lot of people super sick, he said.
Mm-hmm.
And it does kind of limit the access of VR. When I moved from that, when we stopped playing that game, or that simulation, whatever it is, I had to stop. I had to like sit down for a second and kind of like recollect myself, because if I kept playing that, I probably would have thrown up.
Oh yeah. It's really intense.
It is. And that's a huge hurdle. And I think just that memory alone is going to be enough to keep me from buying VR for myself. Like I'm going to keep that in mind, and that's it. Like I'm not going to buy an Oculus Quest, even if every other experience that I've had has been good, because and maybe you can answer this for me. I don't know if there's a way of getting like a demo for a game before you buy it. And if I'm going to spend money on a game, I need to know without a shadow of a doubt that I'm not going to throw up on myself when I'm playing it.
don't know if I can answer that 100%. I do know that there's a lot of demos available. I want to say that there's probably a demo available for almost everything. There ought to be, kind of like how you referenced, because, I'm not going to buy a $30 game or whatever and then find out that, like, I can't handle it because it's too intense.
Right.
And sometimes it's hard to get used to it. Like, I couldn't really get used to that game, the ISS, because I tried to. I remember at one point too, I was like kind of navigating like close to a window because I wanted to look out, and it was just like I kept feeling like my head and my body were was falling. It's kind of like a weird sort of like vertigo effect. And if you've never experienced that before, it's hard to explain. But it's sort of like, the room is moving and you're not, kind of thing. And I guess we've all been pretty intoxicated at times in our lives, and
sure.
You've had the spins. It's a similar experience in some ways.
I think it was worse. It was worse than any spins I've ever had.
Yeah,
because at least when I'm like that drunk and I'm laying on the floor or on my bed or whatever, like I can feel that, okay, I'm not going to die.
But hopefully you'll get a chance to play something. I mean, you did play Super Hot.
Super Hot I thought was a lot of fun. I enjoyed that. Now, I've played that game prior, so I kind of knew what to expect from it. I've never played it in VR, but I have played it on the Xbox. And it's a fun game, so I kind of had an understanding of the game mechanics already. I know that, your movement causes the movement of others, so it's kind of like a puzzle at the same time as it's a shooter, because you're kind of maximizing your movement to do the most damage while they're trying to shoot you. And there were some parts of it that I felt really, really comfortable with, but once I started having to actually turn around and deal with enemies that were behind me, that's when I started having difficulty. And I think it was just a matter of me spending more time with it and getting used to it. It didn't make me sick. So that was a good thing. And if I do ever invest in my own VR headset, that would be a game that I would seriously consider buying, because it was very immersive and it was fun, but I didn't get very far in it to really fully appreciate it.
Yeah, it's a unique concept of having to constantly move for the enemies to come towards you, which makes you very active. Like, I've seen a lot of people get pretty sweaty and sort of exerted from playing that game because of that feature. Like, they don't, as far as I know, they don't just come to you. You have to keep moving, and that's
yeah. Well, they move very, very slowly.
Yes.
But so I mean, you can't just sit there and figure it out all on your own and wait until you have it. There is this pressure, but it's not they're not coming at you like fast. You still have time to kind of think. It's just not as much time as you would like. They definitely force you to react.
Yes. I remember when I was playing it for a very brief moment, when I first bought the game, I was kind of almost rolling punches, which I've seen a lot of people do just because they've got to figure out a way, how do I get them to come without me kind of doing something weird and having to move around a lot. I'm just going to keep acting like I'm working on a speed bag.
Yeah. Yep.
So there's that.
So, those are the only games that I played. But I know that you've kind of had, you've had these things for a while, and you really haven't spent a ton of time with them. What's going on?
Yeah, I had mentioned to you before that I was personally growing concerned internally with the fact that I haven't been using it that much. I mean, there's reasons for that. I have been playing Skyrim. I've been kind of just doing a few other things that have been somewhat limiting me from, getting it back on the head. But at the same time, I know that a lot of it is because I don't know if I've lost interest, but I think the important thing that I've learned about VR is you have to kind of really stick with it, because if you don't, it can very easily just be put down. Because I have two games. I have Super Hot VR, and then I also have Red Matter. And I remember when I bought both those games, I was really excited to play both of them. And I don't know what happened. I think I was messing around with some, just other demos and stuff and showing other people the VR headset, and then just kind of life took over. And then I was like, oh shit, I haven't even really started these games. And my brother-in-law just got a Quest because he was blown away by playing mine. And he just played the demo and he's like, oh, dude, I'm getting this thing like tomorrow. Because he's kind of like me. Like he gets easily impressed with just, certain things. And he has it now and he's already been playing games. And he's like, oh, dude, which games do you have? What are they like? And I was like, I haven't really played much. And he's like, I thought you had a couple games. So I'm like, yeah, I do. But they just haven't been loaded. So I just need to get back to it. Simple as that. I still want it. I still enjoy the experience. I'm excited to eventually start Red Matter and play some Super Hot. But just right now, I'm just kind of invested in Skyrim. It's just, it's holding my attention. Yeah. So I'll get to it when I'm ready.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, I just quickly looked up Red Matter, and it looks gorgeous, but it also looks like it has the potential to make me throw up.
Potentially. But I think overall, like, my consensus and what I would caution people to do here with VR, make sure that you're invested, make sure you use it at least a couple times a week.
Yeah.
And just kind of stick with it because there are going to be demos, there's going to be experiences that are kind of meh, and then there's going to be stuff that isn't meh. So like just that would be my review on VR. It's outstanding. People know that from my previous episodes where I've really kind of, express my excitement for it.
Yeah.
But just you got to stay immersed.
Well, if anybody has any tricks to avoiding nausea while playing, please let me know. I would love to give it another try, and I really do think it's just a matter of which game you're playing, because obviously Super Hot was okay. I didn't have any issues there, but the ISS simulator was a major problem. So I don't know if there's a way of telling ahead of time before you buy something whether or not you're going to throw up, or if you just kind of got to throw caution to the wind and hope for the best. So, how's Skyrim been treating you?
It's been good, man. I haven't played recently, but I did get to the Forgotten Vale. I did find out that is the name of the place. I remember on the last episode I was struggling to remember the name of it, but I did finally get there. I had to complete quite a few more quests in Dawnguard, which is the vampire DLC, where I'm the vampire lord. And I got there, and it's stunning. It's basically like a large glacial valley that's like really hidden deep within the mountains of Skyrim. And it's kind of near a couple other places it's difficult to get to, but I had to work fairly hard to get there, and the reward and the payoff has just been incredible. It's just gorgeous, man. Like, I can see why it's in that top 5 or top 10 list, because the way that the sun is like in that area, like it's almost like it's setting but not, so it's kind of lower, and you can see like a lot of these sort of volumetric god rays, they call them, and sun beams just kind of beaming through glaciers, and it's just beautiful blue sky with like fluffy white clouds and streams, and I'll have to send a video and some photos, but it's huge. It's incredible. I have a partner with me. She's basically like a companion.
Okay.
And she's a pretty substantial character in this particular DLC, and she's been following me around, and I'm really impressed with like the attention to detail on how they communicate to you as you're doing things. So for example, like I was wandering around, she's following me, she's saying random stuff like, oh my God, it's so bright out, like this and that, because we're vampires and we don't like the light. So I'm talking like I actually am a vampire lord. So we get to like this cliffside, and I'm looking at this other, like, I don't know, like a small like building or something, or small like contraption thing that we have to like activate, and it's across the way. And I get to it, I'm just kind of looking at it, and she comes up near me, and she's like, oh, like, she says something about it, and I was really impressed with the fact that she like noticed what I was looking at, and there was no activation of me like talking to her. I was just standing there like looking at something, and she knew what I was looking at and spoke about it, and I was like, damn, I was like, that's so cool that she's like commenting on like what I'm doing. And it's really clever, because I think there's a lot of parts of the game where you don't always notice those things, or you subconsciously notice them, and then you take, you have a second, you're like, holy shit, like they actually said like what I was doing. Like there's a lot of instances where you can go into a town and they'll notice that you're a vampire. They'll be like, ooh, I don't like to look in your eyes. And it's just little things like that. Obviously the game is programmed that way, so like if you're participating in the vampire lord experience, they're going to know that you are. because of the way
Vampire Lord.
Yeah, it just gets worse. It gets worse by the minute.
Oh, God.
So they say stuff like that. Even if you're not a vampire lord, you'll go into a town. They'll be like, "Oh, hey, you're the Dragonborn." Like, so it's just the way the game is programmed. But I love that because it really gets you immersed and it makes you feel like a real hero. So that's kind of where I'm at in the game. I have to go and find some kind of sword, I believe. So I'm going to try and get to it tonight because I've been, like I said, just kind of slacking with getting back to it. But I'm excited I made it there. I'm excited to discover more places. I need to get back and work on my house. I'm actually working on a house for myself because it's part of another DLC called.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's called Hearthfire, right? And it allows you to actually build a house, and you can, get materials, and you can use like a drafting table and a workbench, and it's amazing. My house is huge. I'm about to add like a library to it. There really isn't much you can't do in Skyrim at this point, dude. Like, you can build a house, you can be a vampire lord, you can make leather strips, you can use workbenches, you can marry somebody, you can adopt a child. It's literally like, I don't know, man. It's kind of a perfect game in so many ways, but so many ways it isn't, because there's weird bugs still, and even with the SE edition, there's still certain flaws within quests, but it's not really noticeable. It doesn't break the game. It's just, I'm still very much in love with it, and I can't wait to buy more materials so I can build my library.
Yeah. Oh my God. I'm glad you're enjoying it, man. It sounds like it's a lot of fun. For you, it's just not my kind of game, but that's okay. Like, I know we kind of had a conversation about it in Discord a few days ago about Skyrim, and I've come to terms with those types of games are just not for me, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I'm totally at peace with that.
Good. Yeah, because it's not for everybody. It's funny. I'll tell a quick story. Like, when this game came out and the hype was just real about it, this was like 2011. I remember thinking, "Oh, I'm not gonna get that game. I don't play like Elder Scrolls. Like, I don't do games like this. Like, there's too much of a time sink. Like, it's just not my kind of thing." And everybody bought it, and everybody was talking about it. So all of the people in the community of gamers that I was in, they were just like, "Oh, dude, you've got to get this game." And I was like, "Nah, man, I don't play games like that." And the pressure was just kind of real, I guess. And I sort of gave in, and I bought the game brand new for the 360. And I fell in love with it pretty quickly. And I was like, wow, like, guys, this is really good. You guys weren't lying. Like, I understand like how to play. Like, it's a typical RPG, build your character, go through whatever. And I remember saying back then, this might be my favorite game ever. And that was, like I said, 2011, 2012. That's basically when that game was being played the most. And I don't regret saying that because it still stands true. I love this game, genuinely love it.
Do you think it is still your favorite game ever?
No, it's not. It's definitely up there. I mean, I still think I have favorites that I've mentioned on the show before. I still don't know if I have like a number one favorite game because it's such a difficult question. But this is it has to be top 5, no doubt. I'd say like maybe 3. Yeah. Top like number 3 or 4 for sure.
I definitely appreciate what they've done with that game. I can recognize it for its importance in the gaming industry and its value that it has. And obviously, I don't think a game like that would have such a passionate following and such a frequent, what's the word I'm looking for? It's on every platform. So, like, ever since it came out, like, it's been redone.
Yep.
Every single system. And I think there's a reason for that, so I get it. I just, I don't know that it would matter what universe that it's in, whether it's a sci-fi game, a medieval game, a modern game. Like, it's just, I see something like that that's so daunting and I want to run in the opposite direction. I feel like there's just never an end. And as immersive as the game may be, I want something that I can feel like, okay, maybe I'm actually progressing towards a finish,
Yeah, Skyrim definitely is not that. It
Right.
definitely, leads you on into, realizing that this game doesn't really end. I mean, you have your main quest, obviously, but this game is all about side quests. It's all about purposely going off, into the wrong direction.
Yeah.
There's a couple people that Joe might remember, and Raph, if he's listening, and even Tom. There was a particular person that failed to realize that. It's no one that you know, but this guy had a really difficult time or was just in denial in terms of realizing that this game is so much more than the main quest.
Right.
So what he did is he played the main quest apparently and then said, "Oh, like this game like has nothing more to offer me." And we were just like, "What?" Like we're literally like spending hours doing side quests and like not even touching the fucking main quest. So
Right.
that's another story. He just failed to realize something, but um, it is what it is. I've got a Skyrim dragon that Tom gifted me, which I mentioned on the show, and I still don't even know where to put that fucking thing.
Yeah. Well, you still have to play Doom too. Let's talk about that.
I do.
Well, you have until March. So
I do.
let's see here. What's next on the list? What else we got to talk about today?
So apparently you played Ori and the Blind Forest for 5 minutes on a
Yeah.
demo.
So the only game I've played in the past week since we last talked was literally before we started recording. And for the record, like when you called me, I was like in the middle of the prologue. So I gotta admit, Will, I was a little bugged. I was a little irritated. I'm like, what the fuck? Like,
Yeah.
this is the first time I've picked
this?
up a controller in a week, and now this motherfucker's calling me. And I mean, we were planning the podcast, so I really couldn't be that angry at you.
Yeah.
But still, yeah. So,
yeah, it's only your co-host.
it's only my co-host,
Yeah.
But yeah, so I've been wanting to give this game a try for years. It's originally on the Xbox One, and it recently was released for the Nintendo Switch, and the Switch version has a demo. On the Xbox One, it is a part of Games Pass, so I'm kind of going through this internal monologue of play it on the Switch, buy it for the Switch, play it on Games Pass, buy it for the Switch, play it on Games Pass. But with the demo, and I feel like this is the kind of game that I really bought the Switch for. I'm like, all right, let me just give it a try on the Switch and see where I'm at. And early impressions, like I've been listening to the soundtrack a lot because there was somebody else that had recommended the soundtrack, and I don't remember who it was. But I posted one of the songs from it as the Music Monday this past Monday. If you haven't heard it, go check it out. It's fucking great. I think you'll fall in love with it. And so far, the rest of the soundtrack is like perfect for this game. I mean, from what I've played and what I've seen so far and heard, everything is just perfect. Absolutely gorgeous.
Yes.
This is just a jaw-droppingly beautiful game.
It is.
And I'm like super excited to spend some more time with it. I don't know if progress in the demo carries over to the full game if I decide to buy it. But again, it boils down to me having this like fight with myself. It's like, all right, well, I already have it with Games Pass. Why the fuck am I going to buy it on the Switch? But at the same token, like this is the kind of game that, I want to sit in bed with for like maybe 10 minutes before I fall asleep and put in a little bit of gameplay, put the Switch to sleep, go to sleep,
Yeah, I mean, I could see your dilemma with like perhaps what system to buy it on because, I mean, like it's going to look really good on the Switch. It would look amazing on the Vita, if that's even possible. But one of the best experiences that I've had with the game was actually on my iMac, and the reason why is because the resolution on my iMac is equivalent to 2K.
Okay,
and that's one reason why I don't think I'm going to let go of like Boot Camp Windows, so that way I can switch over and play games on there because games just look so good on this screen because it's kind of a unique glass screen versus like a matte screen. But yeah, it's I only played a small portion. I think I only played like an hour or two like years ago. Yeah. And I remember it being really challenging. I remember it being sad.
Yes.
And just unique, man. Like it's a very unique game.
They did a fantastic job of establishing the story and making you feel for a character that doesn't speak in very short order.
Yes.
And I think they've did a better job of that than in any of the other games that we've played. Like I was thinking about, the artistic style, the colors that were used, the lack of speech, the way the story is told, and I couldn't help but compare it to Grease. Mm-hmm. And to me, I think they did a better job of laying the groundwork for what's happening than Grease did. And they made me feel something for the character far quicker than Grease did. So I know they're not the same game. I get that, and it's probably unfair of me to compare the two, but I couldn't help it.
Yeah, it's Grease and Ori share that same vibe in terms of stylistic, like you said, gorgeous looking games, and Ori is a little bit more accessible, I think, than Grease. Yeah. Grease is super artsy, man. I mean, like, it's not even really a game. It's kind of like what you said before. I think you had mentioned that it wasn't very, game-like. Ori has more of that game feel because there's actual like mechanics and sort of mechanisms behind what you're doing, and
right. Well, you have, ultimately you end up with a creature that follows you around that could shoot. So that becomes your weapon, and then there's an upgrade tree that you can unlock that can give you boosts and stuff. And in the demo, like, I'm only like 30 minutes in tops, but I can kind of see where this can become a pretty deep experience at some point.
Mm-hmm.
There's 3 paths that you can go down, and so you can start unlocking all these different upgrades to your weapons and your stats and everything.
Yep.
And it seems like there's a lot of collectibles too. There's in one of the menus there was some sort of an indication of like X out of so many items, and I don't know what those items are. I don't know if they're used to get to certain areas or what the case is yet. I haven't really had an opportunity to find that out yet. But it looks like there is some sort of a path to getting collectibles.
That's cool. Yeah, I wouldn't know because, like I said, I played so long ago, but, it's not going anywhere. I'm going to get to it, again, when I'm ready, and I'm looking forward to the challenge because, like I said, I've heard that it's actually quite tough as nails, like, once you get kind of, deep into it.
Well, from what I understand, the sequel should be coming out soonish. I want to say next year, but maybe this holiday season. Ori and the Will of the Wisps. February it's currently dated for. So this is a game that I really would like to put some time into so that when the sequel comes out, I'm ready. Because this has already grabbed my interest. I am on board. I don't know which platform I'm on board with yet. Probably Xbox. But like I'm in.
That's cool.
Yeah. I also picked up Dandara on the Switch for $4.49. You may remember maybe 20 episodes or so ago, I was talking about this game on the Xbox. It was part of the Games Pass, and I started playing it maybe a month before they pulled it, and I did not have an opportunity to get very far, but I was sold. Like, I'm going to buy this game. And I did. Finally, I bought it today. $4.49 is a great price for a really weird platforming kind of game. I can't recommend that game enough. If you haven't seen it, check out the trailer. I did post it in the Discord, but the trailer is available on YouTube. And it's just a really just unique, clever, tremendously designed game telling a story of an actual mythological tale, I guess you could say. I don't remember the details. Let me see if I can. But it's based on like an actual, it's a Brazilian figure. That was a real person too, I believe. Afro-Brazilian warrior of the colonial period of Brazil. So the story is kind of based on that. But it's really cool. It's the entire game you're traversing through jumps, but by like kind of like zooming from one point to the next. I'm looking forward to it. Like, I'm really excited about having this on the Switch. It's, again, same as Ori. I could play for a few minutes, put the Switch to sleep, go to bed, that kind of thing.
I'm going to look into it because I've heard of it and I really don't know much about it.
For $5, it's a steal. I can't recommend it enough for that price. The limited amount of time that I had on it when it was on Games Pass was worth $5. I can only imagine the rest of the game would be worth full price.
Oh yeah.
So, and then there was another game that I caught on sale for 99 cents called Saturday Morning RPG. It's a quirky indie game, which I don't know a ton about, but I know a lot of people have spoken about it. It's supposed to be like a JRPG style game, but completely tongue-in-cheek in the style of Saturday morning cartoons, where like you kind of run into these encounters that are like an episode of G.I. Joe or something of that nature, you know?
Okay.
I'm looking forward to checking that out too. I don't know a lot about it, but for 99 cents, I was like, yeah, fuck it, you know?
Yeah, I mean that's dirt cheap.
Yeah, so I spent $6 today and I got 2 games.
Not bad.
I feel good about it.
Good. I mean, as long as you're going to play them, I mean, you know, if
Probably
they go into the cycle continues.
I intend to. Like I just on the Switch I was kind of feeling like I needed to pick up something.
Yeah.
And Dandara has been on my must play list for a while. So, you know, that's going to be my next thing. And then with Saturday Morning RPG, like that was kind of an impulse buy, but for 99 cents, I figure, you know, I'll get my money's worth out of that.
Yeah, I think so.
So, but I would like to hopefully spend some time with Control, maybe this evening. And at some point, I want to circle back to Dead Cells. That's something that I was really enjoying as well, too. That's also a game that would be perfect for the Switch. I may pull the trigger on that eventually and buy that on the Switch, although I hear graphically it is better on the Xbox.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah. I mean, it's a more powerful system.
It is.
So it makes sense. I'm running into this thing now where like you have these multi-platform games and it's experience versus experience, you know? Do I want the graphical experience or do I want the portable experience?
Yeah, and that's where it gets tricky because the Switch has portability, and in some cases it also has like the graphics aspect where you want something that is definitely going to look super crisp on like a smaller unit. So
yeah,
it's it sucks because you just want to be able to make a decision, and like it's almost like having too many options makes it harder to make that decision because you're like, well, I could get it for this, but it would look really good on this, and shit, like, but then it's like kind of less expensive on this, and then I want to be able to travel with it, and you know, it's just too many
paralysis.
Options. Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, man, I don't know. I guess I'll worry about that next time a sale comes around.
Yeah,
make a better decision at that point. But I'm happy with these 2 purchases, though. I'm looking forward to kind of tearing into them. Maybe tomorrow, spend a little bit of time with them. I don't have too much going on until evening, so
good. I mean, I think that like, you know, those smaller games that are also very inexpensive are just good for, you know, picking up and playing, and you know, having the Switch and being a new owner of one. I think it's going to be a good entry for you, you know, just into the Switch. It's not like you're buying The Witcher 3 and then playing it for 5 minutes and being like, shit, man, why did I do this?
By the way, I just went on slickdeals.net and they currently have Control for the Xbox One or the PlayStation 4 listed on Amazon for $33.74. Target is also selling it for the same price. I'm not sure if that applies to digital or physical only. But what a great fucking game. And it's definitely worth that price.
Yeah, I'm still seeing like little clips occasionally on on Twitter and stuff. And man, it looks good. You're really right. Like it definitely, oh God, I'm like burping all of a sudden.
Gross.
I know. It reminds me of like Matrix, like you said, like, you know, you kind of compared it to that, like the lobby scene where, you know, all of that, the shards of the tile are going everywhere. Like imagine just kind of like being able to control that and just throw it at somebody. And like, I see a lot of clips like that and it just gets me really excited. Yeah,
it's incredible. It's, you know, it's flawed, but it's incredible.
Yeah. But, you know, like I kind of think that at this point, and I guess this could be kind of a closing statement for me for tonight's show, what game really is perfect? And there aren't many. I can think of maybe a couple, but I'm probably still like cheating myself by saying that. I think that you're going to have a lot of games that are really fucking awesome and they're still going to be flawed. but I think a lot of times we overlook the flaws, and I think that's important because if you don't, you're going to be on this, endless search to find something that's just perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you 100% there. There's almost no games that are 100% perfect. They just don't exist.
Yeah,
so you have to be willing to take the good with the bad, and also you have to kind of weigh out what you're willing to deal with.
Yep. And there's definitely some that come close, for sure, and I think a lot of gamers will agree that there are definitely some games that are almost perfect, and they're amazing for that, but sometimes, with the flaws, like Skyrim's a great example, I think it's kind of charming. It shows that, they took a game so large and they tried to perfect it, but, they just couldn't. And whether it's a lack of time or they just simply couldn't do it, then, whatever.
Yep.
You get a laugh out of it.
I agree. Well, man, yeah, I guess that brings us to the end of the episode. Anything else you want to say before we wrap it up and call it a night?
I don't think so, man. I can't really think of anything that's come to mind. I had mentioned in Discord that everybody at some point should try Skyrim, at least try it once. I'm not forcing I'm not forcing anybody to like it as much as me. But yeah, just try it once, see what you think. Spend at least 30 minutes to an hour with it if you can. 2 hours tops should give you a little taste of what this game is really all about. And I'd be interested to hear what people think if they're going to do that. So.
Fair enough. I would say go buy Dandara for $5. It is worth every penny, and you will not regret it.
Cool.
That's it. That's the end of my thing. So thank you, everybody, for downloading the show. If you can, please take a moment to leave a review over in iTunes or anywhere you listen to your podcast. We would really appreciate it. Every review does help. You can follow us on the web at www.wdgrpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at WDGRPodcast. You can find me at Scionstorm. Excuse me. Will, how can they find you?
Will_gear.
All right. And everybody that sent in a question through the mailbag, we want to give you a thank you as well. You guys are great at recommending things for us. And now I'm just trying to figure out a way to end it. So goodbye.
See ya.